Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Ananda Rose. Thank you for joining me. And today we have the wonderful Sarah Seager with me. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. Mhm.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. Wow. It's great to have you here. I don't know why I didn't think about this sooner.
Life is very busy and everything happens at the right time.
I agree with that. Everything happens at the right time. And of course, life is very busy. So, everyone, we're going to tell you shortly what Sarah does. She's going to tell us what her contribution is. Yes, I think contribution is right. I hope it's the right word. What her part is in this transformation process and what she's currently doing here on the planet for all of us, for humanity. But we thought that it might be a good thing to do an energy clearing and just bringing in the energies. Now, Sarah, I want to say to you that I was guided to do that. I'm going to do the clearing and I'm going to bring in some light language. But if you feel intuitively that you need to add, my guides have asked me, or my higher self has said that I need to ask you, um, or say this to you, that if you feel intuitively to do it, then please feel free to do it. If you want to go first, I'm being told right now, then
Okay.
I'll clear with the incense and I'll let you take the lead. If if that's okay with you, so
Yes.
you tell me what you would like to do.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I can feel the language wanting to come through, so I won't even
Awesome.
try and precursor it. I'll just start. So,
Okay.
hoi na hiana la ia tō ia ka hisho no koe kia ka amoa ka lakia. O huna ka ia sia no ko ia sha. Ia la ko ia ikia o la haraishana. Haruia. Take a
Hmm.
breath and relax. And over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. That was beautiful. Going to talk about your light language very soon. Everybody, I'm just going to apologize for the darkness in the room. I don't know. It's the middle of the day, but we're experiencing this. The smoke you see is not me smoking. I'm kind of, here's the incense, just bringing in some clearing. Sarah, we are to honor you today and say thank you for your courage and for your stand on the planet, for all that you do and for being true to your calling. Yermahitu tahautu to faalut kurma oduranda takatskatut eskulu takarashtete for limits. Oh, wow, it's a Gurunets and the Guru skara dundu kraskmik or it's for all I guru dorahadi. Ndera natsafa, the great grandmothers are here. Ndela kichita bahos tela china kad otokuro This message comes from your white heart connection. Thank you, beloved one, for your work, for your commitment, for your love, for you being you, for you being the loving, honorable you. Remember, we are human, and sometimes we have to be strong, and sometimes being human and being strong means expressing oneself with strictness. So do not feel like if you have to do that sometimes, that there is something called unloving in it, because most of the time the platform is love. It's koronate. Thank you. I don't know what that's about, but as we come back.
I've just got to grab a tissue.
Oh,
Oh, that's spot on. Wow. Well,
okay.
I'm really honored. Thank you. It's
Thank
really
you.
lovely to receive that from somebody outside of myself.
Yeah, yeah. Such an honor. It's an honor to have you here, and it's a blessing to have you here. And I know some of the things you're doing. I know very little of the things you're doing, but what I know is that you are effective in such a huge way.
Mm.
And so, everyone, I asked Sarah before we went to record to tell me what is her title. And please, Sarah, answer the question here. What is your title? What do you do?
Well, I say that when people ask me what I do, I say I do Bowen therapy and spiritual stuff.
Okay.
I'm pretty loose about trying to categorize myself because um, I don't I don't have a word for it, and I think there's so many of us who are just working in such a multi-dimensional way. And when we try and use our language to pin it down, we discredit some of the work that we're doing. So I try and fail to explain it a lot, but basically I do hands-on healing. I use light language. I bring through messages. I have a really big team that works with me who I used to call the grandmothers. But they told me last year they call themselves the peace mothers because they don't need to be a grandmother to be amongst them. And that they have all walked on this planet, but they are connected into the Pleiades, which is something that's fairly new to come through for me because ever, I've never felt a really strong, I think that there's so many branches of where we come from that it's very easy to get um, attached to one strand. And I feel like what we're doing with our language and the work that we do is we're activating all the strands of our DNA. And that means that we need to stay open and flexible and just connect with whatever is available and know that we are held in love and everything is done in the perfect timing. Um, and it's a very struggling acceptance on my part sometimes because I'm so human and I love my human existence. But yeah, so in a very long roundabout way, that's what I do.
I wanted to comment about something you said, but I want to hold back on the comment. I will comment in the end, once we've gone through this, because I really want people to get to know and I to hear what it is that you do and how you do it. So how do you do this spiritual stuff? Oh, maybe you want to talk about your choice. Do you want to talk about bone therapy first, and then we'll go into the spiritual stuff?
Well, I mean, it was just Bowen provided a pathway out of midwifery for me. I was a midwife until 2020. I left of my own volition because I was called into more healing and I couldn't marry what I was learning and what I felt to be true with what I was doing when I worked in the hospital system or the birthing system. So so they're one and the same in a sense. Bowen therapy was just the door that opened to let me free myself from a whole lot of other things. I'd done many things before that. I learnt to teach birthlight yoga when I was a midwife. I did massage. Um, I've always been very interested in crystals and energy work. And so then since making the decision that I couldn't possibly work as a midwife any longer, which was really well timed.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
uh, Even in that period of the last 3 or 4 years that I was doing midwifery, I was already stepping into a space where I was channeling with a friend. The language had started, um, and things were getting very galactic very quickly.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't think I can separate any of it out except that what I do now is I put my hands on, unless I'm online with people, um, I can work through my own body to heal for somebody else. I can do it even if they're in the room, and I've had feedback that people can tell that I'm doing that. My first gift or ability that I could connect with was clairsentience, and I felt that even as a midwife.
Okay.
So I can really feel what's happening in somebody else when they're open to me.
Yes.
And through the clairsentience, I've now developed, further awareness, so I'd say I'm slightly clairvoyant. Um, the audience is a different one because I'm always waiting for it to sound like a human voice, but I do get messages all the time, and I don't know why I can't accept that it's it's probably one of those things. But again, they're just labels. At this point in time, all these things are just labels onto a very broad spectrum of what's available
Mm,
to us and what we're able to tap into.
that's right.
So yeah, so I do that in my own clinic at home where I'm sitting
Okay.
now.
Okay.
And then I do some other stuff out. I do a lot of land work on the ley lines, and I work with Lay Love Down, which is an organization set up by Ben Hawkes and Rachel Vaughan.
Yes.
That is about harmonizing the lays and bringing balance back.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's my other passion.
Yes. And that was where I heard of you, Lay Love Down.
Yeah.
And please explain lay love down because the lay is L-E-Y. So some people may not understand that. They might think L-A-Y, lay love down. So what is lay? What is the lay, and what is lay love down all about?
Well, Lay Love Down is was set up by Rachel Vaughan initially. It was her inspiration, and Ben really helped her to get it off the ground. And that comes out of the fact that Rachel Vaughan was a whistleblower and survivor of satanic ritual abuse as a child.
Okay.
She's been very outspoken for quite a long time about what happened to her and about her father's involvement in in the satanic network. Um, and these, of course, are the more local levels of the structures that control the world and
Yeah.
the reality that we've been faced with.
Yeah.
So Rachel wanted to do something to help the entire world, not just she was working one-on-one as a clairvoyant, and she still does that, but this is her big project is to bring more harmonization into the ley lines, which are the energy currents, just like we have air currents and water currents. It's just to bring more harmonization into those spaces because those are the places where satanic rituals take place, and they are done in those spaces purposefully. And what I have seen in the last 6 months is that the overlaying grid that has kept us oppressed has been maintained by continually doing these rituals in these spaces. So we are, as a collective and individually, as we heal ourselves and as we do work on the land or water, wherever we're working, we're lifting off bit by bit all of this overlay that has been put down. But because
Mm.
our vibration is so high with love, we are able to move through that much more quickly, and we are able to remove those dark layers that are really just places of trauma and hurt that need to be loved back into healing.
Mm. Wow.
And of
Beautiful.
course, they're everywhere. These ley lines are everywhere. So you can do
Yes.
this. You don't even need to know what it looks like or whether you can see it. Just stand where you are, where you live, where the land that you're on, you're there for a reason. So it's about going out and connecting in. And the way that we do it with Lay Love Down is primarily we sing because when we're singing, we're just increasing the frequency
Mm.
of our own kind of intention.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Singing. That's the thing. The singing is something else. Nothing can replace the soul's music,
No, and the
because
intention just creates the sound creates the intention in an amplified way, and
mm,
quite often we're doing this in groups of people. So I'll go out and do stuff on my own, but I'll equally go out with one or more people. And especially organize things to be on big dates like equinox, solstice, any ritual dates that I think may be, or that I feel called to. I don't,
yeah,
I'm not going crazy with it because I can
yeah,
exhaust
yeah,
myself. But
yeah,
but
yeah.
anything that I feel called to, and it's also a very loving organization in that you don't have to subscribe. There's no money changing hands. It is entirely inviting people to step into what they're probably already doing.
Wow. And started by somebody who's had such a history and basically has got the download of how what that means and how to support the planet in spite of the suffering or the you know negative experience,
Mm.
terrible experience to have had as a child, and who knows for how long. Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. When I think about lay, I always think about dragons.
Yes, dragon lines. Well, they're dragon lines. They're
They are dragon lines, yeah.
It's simply like, if you wanted to move through a space fast with the least obstacles, that's where the ley lines are. So ley lines are often where you'll see the animal tracks cut through places. They're often where our major arterial roads are because they were the easiest places to put, transportation routes. Um, yeah, and I mean, if you watch birds, the birds are actively flying in in the currents that are available to them. So what they're accessing is the etheric
Yeah.
level of these lays, and then and totally. I mean, I think the dragons. I mean, I love that dragon behind you.
Oh, you saw
Yeah, he just
Shaka.
popped out. I saw that painting before, and I didn't see it until we started talking.
Yeah, that's Shaka, painted by my daughter.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
and Micah's there. Can you see Micah? There's the little boxes. I'm gonna bring Micah to you.
Yes. Yeah. Go on. Oh, I see. I
See
see.
Micah? Micah's a little bit different.
Beautiful. Yeah.
He's blue and gold.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we digress. He's blue and gold, and he is from Mercury. And
Wow.
because Mercury is basically affects all our the planet Mercury affects our communications,
Mm,
and the dragons from Mercury are meant to be the ones that reinterpret our communications and clear the blocks. And also, it's a lot like what you're doing. And what they do is they go and they change things that are misinterpreted into high vibration and clear misunderstandings.
yeah.
But
That's
I do love
beautiful.
Micah. He's Micah, communication headset, microphone. He's mine because he's one of my guides in terms of my communications and my work. So, Micah is very special. But yeah, but Shaka is, I mean, he's like his namesake.
Yes.
But his namesake was so misunderstood. We got that in one of our activations. I did continental activations online last year. And Shaka came forth. First, his mother had come through in the morning talking to me, Queen Nandi. And then in the activation, he came through and he confirms that he's one of the guardians of Africa. He roams the plains of Africa like with the lions, and
Mm.
that his story is a misinterpretation. In fact, the mother, brought that story through first.
Yeah.
Our
Beautiful.
history is distorted with what we've been told. So, there you go, Shaka.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm going to have to share this conversation to a good friend who's in Australia in Adelaide on the Florio Peninsula, which if you look at Google Maps, you'll see it looks like a dragon. And
Oh,
so the premise of Rob's work is that, and he's not the only one, but like everybody, we're working together. So Rob is looking at everything as geology as biology. We're living on fossilized remains of things like dragons, like
yes.
gigantic beings that were here before us, what remains after the floods or the catastrophes that have been perpetrated
Mm,
to keep us under control.
yeah, exactly. So the dragons then, they work with you on the ley lines sometimes?
Well, so I had an experience with a dragon in 2020, and it was just a spontaneous journey and a meditation where I was in a tower block in somewhere in China, and I was on the back of a dragon and it dove down and then flew. And then it took me into Buckingham Palace, where there was a whole lot of men with clipboards who were going around and they were categorizing everything that was in basically auditing all of the all of the possessions within Buckingham Palace. And they told me This is all being returned to the people. So that was the first kind of really big dragon experience I had where it actually took me on the journey. And I haven't attached too much to that. Like I didn't therefore think, okay, well now I'm going to have all these dragon journeys. So dragons just keep returning. But my latest, the one that's really sticking with me is Onuku,
Okay.
the rainbow dragon. And he works with the peace mothers, or he or she. I don't think there's a whole lot of gender in there. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, Uanuku is the Maori name of the rainbow god. And there is a po down in it's a museum down in, oh, I can't remember. It's not Otrahonga, it's nearby. But there is a museum down there where the po or nuku stands. I've had an experience in that museum where I touched him. I had a whole lot of light language come through, especially with a friend that was there. And no one heard me. We were standing meters apart from other people. No one heard
Wow.
a thing.
Wow, that's profound. That's
Yeah, and
interesting.
very interesting. And then I didn't realize the impact of what that meant until probably about 4 or 5 months ago when I had an experience with the Rambo serpent telling me I am Uanuku and then taking me on a healing journey actually.
Wow. Wow. I'm so moved. I'm so moved by this story you're telling me, this experience you've had. I feel like I want to cry because it's just making me very emotional. Wow. Um, the dragons. And I'm told now I need to, because the dragon that's wanting to talk right now is the one on the Welsh flag.
Oh,
I don't know if that means anything to you, but this is a dragon. I was doing some dragon light language a couple of years ago when I started my channel on YouTube, and the dragons were coming through fast and furious. They started where I had somebody here who I think a business is called something with the name Dragon. This is Tamara Smiles. And she was talking about the dragons and how she does Tai Chi. She teaches it and all of that. And it occurred to me like 3 or 4 months later, oh my gosh, the dragons are wanting to come through. And so I started to work with the dragons myself because I've always had an affinity with dragons from the time I was a child, from the time I can remember, Merlin, the dragon, Excalibur, all that. And and so when the dragons were coming through, I was bringing in a lot of the dragons because I had the Dragon Oracle card deck. I had others that were coming through the Oracle card decks. And then one day I was doing a transmission with the green dragon from my Whispers of Healing. And I heard, "What about me?" And I was like, "Who's that?" And I thought, okay, I'm going to come back to you because I was in the middle of a recording and I could hear this. And so then tuning in and it was the Welsh dragon. So it's on the basically because we've always honored Asian culture for keeping the dragons alive in our memories, in our realities because they have. But the Welsh dragon has been on that flag for all this time. And it was a dragon that was said to be found with another dragon under a building. So, there's a story that goes behind it. And it was acknowledged by one of the religious leaders, and then it suddenly got put on the back burner again. And so I did a transmission with the Welsh dragon. And so I don't know if that Welsh dragon means anything to you. Do you have maybe Welsh heritage?
no.
But
But I mean, I've got Scots heritage.
yeah,
Yeah.
Celtic. So it would like its communication with you. Tune into something it needs to tell you. And it's an awesome dragon because I think it's a red dragon on a white and green flag or something, right? I can't
It is.
remember. I did
Yeah.
all of those things and I can't remember. It's
No,
like
you're right.
2 years ago feels like a lifetime ago. For time is flying like that.
Mm.
But the Welsh dragon, it really does what it's an amazing dragon when you hear the story of it. And I did some light language and brought in the reminder to people of the Welsh dragon. And I have been a dragon. I mean, never mind that I was called a dragon when my daughter was a teenager, but I mean, I'm okay with that. I was like monster mother, dragon woman, all that was okay with me. I have been a dragon, but I also have been a dragon rider. And when my dragon started to come, it came very much like Micah. It looked a lot like Micah. And we were like sailing through the air and doing these flip overs. And it was holding on to me, like making sure I did not fall off. And I thought, what the heck was that? Some of my experiences were a bit wild. But it says, um, I'm kind of airy. I have air in like, my moon sign is air, is Gemini, and I have air, and I kind of understood then why I have this air in my chart and why that flipping goes around like that. And I mean, for a long time, as a teenager and into my young adult life, I presented those airy, flary ways. I get it now. I also get why I feel like I can't contain myself within my body because sometimes it's the dragon self that wants to come out, or it just, but sorry, we digress. But I mean, the
Yeah,
dragons have come and they really do want to communicate with us. They want to see that they have. I understood. I was reading that book, by Dragons Are Celestial, Your Celestial Guardians by Diana Cooper, and she says they were there at the time of Earth being born.
yeah,
They put the ley lines down. They were also, they were there. They've been there. They've been a lot of chose to sleep on the planet until we awakened, until 2012. And so, if there's anything that sits right, if that sits right with anyone, tune into it and see again what it is that the dragons are wanting to bring forth into into our world individually and how we're going to work with them. And I've done a lot of work in the last 2 years with the dragons. So, yeah, I love that the dragons are working. And when you say lay, I think dragon.
yeah,
Always.
yeah, yeah. Well, I want to just share this because recently a friend of mine, I've been going up Mangere Mountain for about 3 or 4 years. I mean, since I was a kid, actually, but in earnest in the last 3 or 4 years since I did Rachel Vaughan's ley line and spiritual development course.
Yes.
And so it was up there that I first saw a ley line. And I took photos and sent them off to Rachel, and I was so excited.
I can
But then when I
imagine.
looked at it, I was like, oh gosh, this place has got there's about, I mean, it's a nexus point, but mountains are nexus points for ley lines.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's many there. And then I had always felt that there was a pyramid in there's one little mound in one of the craters second crater in Mangere Mountain, and I always thought that was a pyramid. And then
Oh,
I
wow.
I drove up there the other day, and I've also felt that it's also a dragon though. So I feel like when you walk up, you're walking up the back of the dragon. So there's a few aspects to the mountain that have really kept me intrigued. And I went up on Sunday, and when I turned into the street a little bit further away to go up, it was just, when you go somewhere and the light is different and you see something you never saw before. And I looked at
Yes.
the mountain at the highest point and I went, oh, that's the pyramid. It's got
Wow.
it's got the steps on the side. It absolutely is. And
Wow.
I was called to go there as well. I was told to go back because I'd had an experience there the week before. But really interesting. So yeah, I feel like the dragons are actively calling us in because we are helping to release their energy from these places where um they've kind of embedded, but they haven't been able to release themselves. And I think that's part of that overlay stuff that's been happening.
Yes. Yes. Wow. After you
So
did,
somebody out there's going to go up Mangere Mountain and do some amazing work now.
I think so. I think so. And also, I think, like, we went to Mount Wellington about a couple of weeks after you had done you gone up there and asked if people wanted to join. I've never been up Mount Wellington, and I've lived in New Zealand for like 25 years. And it's been like so obvious a mountain I could go up, and I just didn't. But I went up there and I was thinking, actually, I was thinking about it this morning. I was so fascinated with the energy. There is something in that energy, and being up there and comparing it to like Mount Eden and One Tree Hill. I have to say that is my favorite spot.
Mm.
I felt like I can see everything that I see from the ground that is regular to me. It stretches so far. But
Yeah.
that's probably because I live close by. And I could see my East Auckland,
Mm.
because I've lived in East Auckland all the time, and I could see it and I could identify with it. And maybe that's the thing, because maybe Mount Eden is too far away from what is in my eye line all the time. But I just felt, but having said that, the energy on Mount Wellington, I was, I can't even describe the feeling.
Well, Mount Wellington sits on a very large alignment, and the alignment runs from, I mean, the alignment runs right through the North Island. But if
Right.
you wanted some marking points, the
Yeah.
old stones that used to sit at the top of the hill in Silverdale, that's one of the marking points. It comes through over Mount Wellington,
Okay.
all the way down. If you wanted to follow it, there's another place, I can't, Totra Hill,
Yeah.
I think, in Manukau, and down to the Bombay Hills,
Right.
there's Mount William. So
Yes.
that's a very large alignment um, that runs right through Mount Wellington. So it is a very active spot. And we went up on the winter solstice. That was the one we did on winter
Yes, that's
solstice.
right.
The fog was insane that morning. And then when we went up, and I've had this experience with doing CE5, that when energy beings want to come in close, they'll often come in with mist or fog. So
Ah,
when we were up there, we didn't go right to the peak to do our little sing song because there were a lot of people around. We walked up there after, but we stayed on this little knoll and we sang our our songs, and as we did so, the mist came in around us. So I was, yeah, it was very clear to me that we were in the right place.
yeah. We felt that energy a couple of weeks later when we were up there. And it's phenomenal. And I was just saying to the dog today, we need to go back to Mount Wellington because, just to experience Mount Wellington again, because I feel like it's calling back. And yeah, there's just something in it. Yeah, I can still see the crater. The
Mm.
crater's quite deep, isn't it?
Very deep.
It's very deep compared to the other ones. And so yeah, wow, awesome.
And there's something there for everybody. You know, that's the thing is that nobody should feel that because somebody else has had this big experience that it won't be available for them. It's everybody is required to participate in doing this work. And even if you don't know you're doing it, you are.
Yeah, yeah. People are sometimes, we speak of dragons, we speak of unicorns, all of that. And some people think, oh no, I don't want to have a part of that. But you don't have to have a part of the thing you don't feel comfortable with. Do your part. That's it.
And maybe sit with the discomfort of why is that uncomfortable? Because
Yeah,
maybe there's something in that that you do connect with that you're holding away from yourself because it hasn't been safe to have that experience before now.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. I was speaking to somebody last week who reminded me, they were talking about them having left Christianity, or last week or the week before. And I was reminded about who my guide was when I left Christianity, because I left, when I left the church, and I still thought, well, I'm Christian at home. And I was starting to come through, and I was encouraging people that we should not be afraid, because the most safest being that we can be is with ourselves, our intuition. Because it's
Mm.
not, if you truly listen to your intuition, it's not going to lead you astray. It's the
Mm.
best teacher. It is your higher self. You cannot go wrong. And I was reminded from speaking to this person who has said they left the church 4 years ago and they haven't gone anywhere. I was reminded who was my teacher. And I've had many teachers, in the years gone by. But my teacher out of the church was my the Holy Spirit, higher self.
Mm.
And I encourage anybody to say, because it will never leave you to go in a direction that you're not going to learn from, or that will be detrimental, because before you know it, you'll see it quickly. You won't like go down this whole thing and then, oh my gosh, I've come down the wrong track. We are called to be ourselves and take the journey to ourselves, and to do this that our soul's purpose is on the planet. And I encourage everybody to do this, because I feel that that's the truest thing we can do right now with everything that's going on the planet.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Sarah, you do one-to-one sessions with people, like you do private healing sessions.
I do,
Tell us,
yeah.
tell us about that.
So I do, I always struggle with how to structure it all because there's so many things that you use. So I use a lot of different tools. Last year, at beginning of last year, I started doing, well, it might be 2 years ago. I started doing numerology. And so it's another tool. I mean, these are just things that you can use to get a clearer picture of something that otherwise is difficult to articulate.
Yeah.
So, it hasn't necessarily changed everything for me. What it has done is it's given me a language, which is really helpful.
Mm,
And so, yeah, so I do one-on-one sessions and I do them either as I advertise as a Bowen therapist for people who want to access Bowen therapy, which is a very gentle therapy that works much better than massage. From my experience is that massage exhausts the piezoelectric potential of the body because it's a bit too hands-on and it can collapse the structures where we need flow. So within our body, we work through, Bowen therapy for me is working through the fascia. And the fascia is the place where you have tiny little collagen fibers that communicate and move constantly. They change shape. They're not a fixed structure. And they're very much about supporting the entire system. It's where 90% of your nerve endings are. So
mm,
all the messages are sent through the fascia. And I think one way it's explained is that fascia is the skin of the spirit, which I love. So it's where you transform or where you even embed the experiences that you're having and they become a part of your physiology.
mm,
So if you're having experiences that are stressful or that you don't like, or you're being bombarded with things that your body isn't able to process, then you start to have areas of your fascia that will glue together and they won't be allowing the flow of hydration. And that's the first component of then creating an injury or a problem. And so working through the fascia is really just allowing the body to remember how to bring the flow back in, how to open up the pathways for the water to come in, because hydration is usually our biggest
mm-hmm.
problem.
Wow. Wow.
Mm.
That's awesome. That's I've heard of bone therapy, and I didn't know exactly what it was, and now you've explained that. And I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense, because often when there is blockage, like for example, in the fascia in feet, plantar fascia, and and I've had that, and the discomfort is the pain.
Yeah.
What is it? What is behind that?
Mm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just now bring in, I used to try, I advertised to do a Bowen therapy session for 1 hour or a soul healing for an hour and a half. If somebody's coming in with any kind of spiritual dilemma, an hour session turns into an hour and a half easily.
Yep. Yep.
But basically, unless I wait now for my clients to open the door. So if somebody's coming in that they haven't met before, they will always come in and they'll let me know if there's anything in them that wants to talk about spiritual matters. I don't push it on anybody, because I'm not here to confront anybody or challenge them to open up. They'll do it when they're ready. and we choose our own healing, don't we? So
We do.
I'm only here to help them on their journey that they've chosen. So yeah, so if somebody gives me an indication that they want to discuss things or explore that, then I can jump in with my light language and the messages coming through. And I am working with my higher self, my team, and basically I'm just meeting their higher self and their team, and
Mm,
then taking in what's needed. Sometimes it's their team that comes in and does all the work. Sometimes it's my team that is able to communicate with them and then bring that through. But I
mm.
don't take a whole lot of, you don't have to be an amazing therapist to be really helpful for people. You just need to be willing to assist, really.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the thing about the work you're doing. And I know even when I do a light language session with somebody, it's I have a general idea of what it's going to go like. 'Cause, you have a bit of a consult, then you do the language or use tools or whatever. But it's usually my higher self that guides me as to what I would be taking into that session. And also, it's very individualistic. You can't
Yeah.
do something regimented for everyone. One size doesn't fit all because we're all individuals and especially intuition and spirituality is very specific. It's very personal to
Mm.
people. So yeah, I understand that. So Sarah, where can people find you? I mean, like, and you do you have a website?
Yep, I've got a website which is bowentherapyauckland.com. Very
Okay.
easy.
Yeah.
I have a Telegram page called the Galactic Midwife, and I share a lot of my land healing, all my explorations and adventures
Nice.
there, because that's where it's almost like an album for me. I can collect all of these things, put them there and try and make sense of them, and just put my ideas forward, and then I have a chat group that's attached to that so people can provide what they see and what they feel is pertinent. And I'm really enjoying that. And I have a YouTube channel that I'm not really doing an awful lot with at the moment, but it has a lot of light language meditations there that I've done over the last 4 years. And also I've interviewed people. So I was doing that a lot last year. I've only interviewed Rachel Shields this year from the PHA.
Okay.
And I have a lot of plans, but I've been pulled into a different direction this year, so I
Yeah.
haven't been doing a whole lot. But that's the links for that are on my website, I believe.
Yeah, I will put some links in the description box to all of that because I think if people wanted to get in touch, maybe they wanted a session with you because you do your sessions online too, right?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what's going on, but I have this great affinity with Australia and Australians.
That's nice. Me
It's
too.
really lovely, and
Yeah.
I've just got this incredible community that I've become a part of over there. So,
Yeah.
more and more, I'm just doing more stuff online because um, there's no other way to work with them in such a great distance. But yeah,
That's
it's
right.
beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying it.
That's good. That's really good. We need to organize a conference or something in Australia, New Zealand conference and
Yeah,
go
there's
and meet all our
definitely a whole
people.
lot of people who'd be quite willing to come out and
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure because I have some really incredible Australian, I'll call them soul family. They're just awesome. I have soul family in Australia, the UK, and the United States, and you probably do too, because for whatever reason, this work appeals to people
yeah,
beyond the shores of New Zealand more than,
yeah.
especially like, I mean, sessions, one-to-one sessions. Um,
Mm.
Sarah, what I normally, before I go to that question, that the last question, I wanted to say something. I was making a few notes on here, just a couple of notes. Thank you for talking about the land and saying to everybody, the land you're on, you're there for most likely a reason. You are there to clear that land, because I've I've come to realize that, and very especially in this house that I live in because this is used to be. I think there was a settlement in the old days here, and we had and there must have been wars, and there must at some point because there were wars, there's a burial grounds here. And we had, and I speak about CJ the cat today, and I've spoken about him so much, and I've actually felt like he's going to be coming back to me. I don't know how, but anyway. But we had a cat here that basically came here with the family next door. And when the family moved, he didn't leave. He didn't want to leave. And they moved a few streets away and he kept coming back like 5 times he came back. And he's called CJ. And finally, when I moved here, so the cat was here and people were looking after it. It was going and eating, food at other people's houses, their cat's food, all of that. When we moved here, and the family that had lived here, uh, probably two tenants away, they had looked after him and fed him regularly. And then they left, and then there wasn't anybody doing it. But when we moved here, this kind of started with us. And so we had to send him to cat heaven last year because he had developed a tumor, would have probably been about 14 years old. And but I was starting to work with him like 6 months prior to this happening because he was starting to look sick, and I was doing some energy healing with crystals and things with him. Finally, when we let him go, a few days later, there was a Maori chief on the front lawn, and he was wearing this straw cloak with feathers hanging
Wow.
off it.
Yeah.
I talked to one of my friends who is of Maori, is a Maori, and he said that is an ancient cloak. So CJ was the Maori chief here,
Yeah.
guardian of this land. And so I think that's the thing is if we become a little bit sensitive to what is really around us, what is really happening.
Mm.
That cat that keeps coming back, if it doesn't want to leave, why is it here? Who is
Mm.
it? The beings that we are relating to, the land we're on. Like the house at one point was hurting me a lot, I felt. And I thought, what is that? Why do I keep bumping into things? Or even if I'm not bumping into it, the door slams into me and then I started to tune in. And one day I heard a voice say to me, and I was saying, this house hurts me. I don't know why. I said it aloud. And then I heard, well, why don't you clear me? Because you can. And so that is a whole other story because there was a lot of other things. There were stuff that had happened on this land that was not good.
Mm.
And it had happened in this lifetime. And so there were lots of those energies remaining and needing to go. But it's coming back to that clear audience that we hear. And I love that you brought clear audience because I hear and I hear audible. Like I hear it like a voice. I
Mhm.
can't even say that I can't say it's a man's voice or a woman's voice or whatever, but I just hear it.
Yeah.
And we all have it. So it's really good that you mentioned that. And I wanted to ask if you're related to Waitaha, but do
Well,
I have
I
to?
have a very interesting story about Waitaha. So I came in, and this has come through in many, many iterations of channeling and meditation and journeys. But I came into New Zealand from another planet
Yeah.
as a midwife that had delivered a baby that was given to me to bring here, and I was the guardian for this child. And I brought her in via a Stargate and landed in the South Island, and it was the Waitaha grandmothers who received us. And then they sheltered us, and my belief is that that's where my connection is. So I don't claim a Waitaha lineage myself, but I have a very deep connection with the Waitaha grandmothers from that story, and it's definitely been a part of what's coming back for me here. So um, one of the things I should say is that I have been recently told that the Southern Cross is one of the largest stargates here, and that it's the space between the stars that is the stargate. It opens wider during solstice and equinox times,
Hmm.
and that the Pleiadians have ships here already. I mean, they are already here, but that in the next equinox, there will be another large fleet coming in, and that when the ground crew says it's safe, they will make contact in October. So I had that message a wee while ago, and since then I've learned about 31 Atlas, which is this object moving through outer space. So I think there's a very good chance. And yesterday I was driving along and I saw my first in the daytime orb that was really high in the sky as I was driving into Newmarket. And I really, I was really like, is it a plane? I was like, it's too high to be a plane. It's not, it's round. It's not a helicopter. It's too high to be a drone. And I thought, well, how am I going to know what this is? Because I was very excited and I was driving and I couldn't take a video. And I thought, well, I'll know if it changes course very suddenly or it disappears. And very soon after that, it disappeared. So, so yeah, I really believe this. I really think that we are about to have um, a real shift in our ability to connect with beings from other places. They're already here, of course, but because we have been so limited in our ability to accept things that are outside of our reality, we've had to upskill and upgrade, and we've done it. And there's
Mm,
enough of us now that they're like, well, if you guys remember us, then we can come.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated with that because I have Waitaha connections. I don't necessarily, and when I was down in Castle Hill last year, my dragon was there. And then I went and sat on the dragon. And because initially when I got there, I couldn't speak my light language. The light language wasn't coming, but my body, I kept moving my body in various ways. And I thought, what the heck is that? Like, why is the voice not speaking? Like, but I just kept feeling like I needed to flow and move and whatever. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to go with it. And I looked at this rock and it was my dragon and then I sat on it. And our friend started to do her light language. And my grandmother started to speak, my grandmother of the time, and said, welcome back.
Mm.
And welcome back, not because I landed there with my dragon. So I didn't, I don't have that, was I have a Waitaha connection. I don't necessarily have a biology in Waitaha. I have come from the stars. And and so and just basically said, well, you're here to finish what you started.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, that's good. And then that's good communication. And then I had a language I didn't have before. Then I had my light language, and I didn't have it before. My connection to the Pleiades, I have always known of. So, that is my thing. I have met my Pleiadian parents probably 2022. I'd asked to meet them. I was just going to say this, because you mentioned the Pleiades before, and the galactic, you were talking about this galactic awareness. Many of us, because we are multidimensional, we have been here in the galaxies, in the universes, for aeons of time. Our souls do not have a number on how old it is. It continues to get more and more. The number is infinity and it keeps going. Because I asked the question about a while back, how old is my soul? To somebody who did an Akashic reading for me. And she said, can't give you a number. And as she said, what is in your mind right now? And I could see 4 digits and the last digit just moving up and moving up and moving up to say we don't know the age of our soul. Because we're multidimensional, we are in other star systems. So there is the Pleiadian self, there is the Arcturian self. In recent times, I've worked a lot with the Arcturians. However, it's interesting you saying this about the Pleiadians because I believe that the Pleiadians, like my soul's first incarnation was in the Pleiades. This much I have an intuition about, so I'm aware of that. But I also know that that was the first incarnation, and I've had all these lifetimes in different forms and in different star systems, different galaxies. And so when I see myself arriving here on the top of a hill on a mountain and I'm on a dragon, I'm not surprised because I know that For me, I call myself a peaceful galactic warrior. I say this to you because I hope that it will resonate with you. We have been all over the galaxies and the universes fulfilling our soul's purpose. And so if we don't, if we don't connect with if we don't connect with one galactic um, race, and or if we connect with multiple, that's all good because for me, that's my understanding of why we connect with multiple. And in being in multidimensional state, we are in a multidimensional state beyond this planet. So many different dimensions. So, I just wanted to say that. And that you've done CE5 that I'm waiting to do. I'm like,
Ah.
yeah, baby, you've done CE5.
Yeah, there's an awful lot available, and like CFI, I love that that was what was happening for us is that me and another friend were channeling on a regular basis, and then after a couple of years, I was like, oh, imagine if one of us did hypnosis and we could do regression, we could find out what we're learning from a different perspective. So I ended up in the second lockdown learning quantum healing hypnosis, which is the Dolores Cannon
Yes.
um, modality. And then on top of that, I had joined before that I joined the Auckland C5
Yeah.
group,
Yeah.
and we started going out on so meditating under the stars in a group of people in heart coherence and inviting connection with whoever's available. And on those, I had a very big mix of inner earth meetings and galactics coming through. And again, almost every time we'd have the mist come in, you could tell when they were coming because the mist would turn up and surround us.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, and what I've learned since is that we don't need to worry. I mean, I think this is a time that we don't need to worry too much about doing what we want to do in a prescribed way. You follow your heart, you put your intention out, you make sure that you connect in whether am I doing this for service to self or service to all? And as long as you feel that you're doing it for service to all, you're always benefiting. Like you're never gonna
I
have a
agree.
bad experience.
Yeah.
And you can go out and you can do all of these things. But when I got really excited about all the galactic stuff, and that was probably about 2019. And I remember sitting outside under the stars one night and saying, please come and show me. And I got the message, there are billions of species on your planet.
Yes.
It may serve you better to connect with what's already available to you before you
Yes.
start reaching out for something
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm, I agree. I agree. And I just feel like quite often there are many people here on the planet that are here commissioned to be here. And like a few weeks ago, I suddenly said to somebody without realizing, I said, I'm stationed on Earth. We were talking about purpose. And I said, right now, in this time, I'm stationed on Earth. And that's the thing that we are, I don't know if you've heard of the Stellar Nations. There are these authors that have written books called Stellar Nations, and what they're talking about is the nations, the 13 stellar nations in our solar system. And that they're saying we have lifetimes in each of the 13, right? There are 33 planets and 13 stellar nations. And the stellar nations are like um, the dragons, the unicorns, because the angels. These are all the stellar nations, right? The gold, the winged lion, the felines, all of that. That we have an aspect of ourselves in all these nations. We're just talking about this solar system. I'm not talking about anywhere else. And here on Earth, when you come into physicality, you are a blend of all those things. And that makes so much sense to me when I can connect with my dragon self and when I can connect with my unicorn self. And so they say that, but I also know that we've had lifetimes from beyond here. So there's enough on the planet. If that is true of us, if that just one aspect is true of us, think about how much all of us here on this planet, what more we have and we've come to do and be here, just taking the journey and coming to reality. Many of us are here commissioned for the awakening of this or the transformation of the planet into the fifth dimension. Whilst many are here awakening, but we too had to awaken to know that we are part of that. That's
Yeah.
what we're here for, right? So we've done the human journey, but we're suddenly starting to see our galactic heritage and our soul's mission and what we're here to do. And actually, we had to take the human journey in order to be here. And you listen to Dolores Cannon and talking about the volunteers, the waves of volunteers. You would have been that one person that put up your hand before you thought about it.
Yeah. And then you arrive and go, oh,
Oh
bloody
my
hell.
gosh, what have I done? But okay, I'm here now. Let's go with it. You know. So I love that, and I just love that that we can talk about this and we can share this, and it's becoming more and more that people are awakening to this, and it feels better because more and more I meet people talking about this stuff and not
Mm.
thinking it's crazy.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. I'm just asked to ask because I have seen so many. I call them moving stars. And sometimes they come in a pattern. Sometimes you can see like 40 of them and they come in with two of them alongside each other up in the sky at night. Other times you'll see like one and then maybe 10 minutes later another one. So I believe that these moving stars are galactics. And I was recently told by somebody, no, initially I thought, oh, this must be satellites. But I don't know if satellites move with that precision and that they know where they're going. Their sense of I know where I'm going. A satellite, I think, just kind of orbits for me, my feeling. But what sense do you get when it comes to that?
So I think about birds. So I have birds that come in and every time I see a blackbird, I say, hello, do you know my grandfather? Tell him I love him. And because I have a bird for almost everyone who's passed on. And so I know
Yes,
that they're
yes,
visiting me
yeah,
when those birds show up. I know that my grandfather isn't the blackbird, but I know that that's a way that we can communicate. Um, and that's a really great thing, actually, is just if you have somebody that you miss who isn't physical on the planet anymore, you still have an enduring relationship through the love that you hold. So you
yes,
can put parameters around what you want in terms of communication. Because all of your guides, all of your spirit family or your soul family, your passed over loved ones, they want to communicate with you, but they cannot do it unless you ask them. And also, it's a lot easier for them if you give them some things that you'll recognize. You can't just ask them to show you because they can show you millions of different things and you won't recognize it.
mm,
So I feel like stars moving in the sky is a similar thing. It's like we don't know what it is. It may not be one thing or another. It may just be like when I look at the clouds and I've been listening to somebody talk about dragons, and suddenly before me the clouds form into dragons. Like it's all energy, it's all spiraling, it's all expanding. So if I see something moving in the sky when I'm choosing to connect in, then I believe that it is a connection, a communication for me. Um, I can't say that I know exactly what it is, but I don't need to. Like, there's so much I don't know. And the more that I recognize that, the more I go, well, what do I feel? And if I feel something is happening, then I try and go with that. And often you don't actually know something until something has happened and you go through a process and then you look back and you say, ah, now I see.
yes, yes. I like that answer because I've asked the galactics to communicate, and I get that communication. I
Mm.
mean, I've had times where Orion. the Orion, the stars, the three of them that are that come,
The three sisters.
the three sisters. Sometimes there's been like explosions happening close to them. Have you seen the
Mm.
going through? And I don't, and I'm like, what's happening out in space? What the heck's happening? What's going on with those stars? Like
Mm.
stuff like that. I saw one just last week too, and isn't it amazing that we have these stars that are showing us now these beautiful colors? Like, because if you look in the western sky at night, you've got all
Mm.
these beautiful colors, blue, pink, red, and green, and you're like, even Arcturus is looking like that at the
Yeah.
moment, and Regulus is looking like that. And it's like the wonderment of it all to think that there's all this magic out there. And that's the response. That's the key to it, is to think it's nothing to fear, it's everything to know, and we're
Mm.
fine, we're safe. Whatever we're going to know and learn is going to be beautiful for our expansion. So, Sarah, is there anything you want to share with the audience before I say goodbye to you, before we say goodbye to them?
No, I think I am really blown away about the light language message that came through when we started because it shifted the direction of our conversation, I think. And it was really meaningful for me.
Good.
So thank you very much. And thank you to the grandmothers. And thank you to the dragons.
Thank you. And it's good you mentioned the light language, because I wanted to say your light language had a few different
Yeah.
beings in there, dare I say.
Mm.
And I felt one from a very far away planet, a very
Mm.
quiet planet that's a lot of water. And it was a water being that was going in and out of a lake, and I could see it blue now. And I just that was my download that I was getting as you were bringing it in, and I just felt, wow, you know, uh, so incredible. What an
Yeah.
interesting, amazing time to be conscious.
Yeah. And we've come from a limited space. We've been only allowed to access so much. And now that all that control is being relinquished, it's gone actually.
It's
But
gone.
it's gone and we're just seeing the effects of what that going looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we mustn't limit ourselves. We must take a deep breath and feel into what's really true for ourselves and allow things to be more magical and more
Mm,
wonderful. There are miracles every day, and
that's right.
actually it's just that we don't recognize them. So,
This is true.
allow yourself to see the miracles.
Yes. Sarah Seager, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you next time. And yeah, what a blessing. I'd have to ask, is there a light language we sign out with? Or are
Yeah.
we? I think it is a light language. I think it comes from you, by the way.
Yeah, well, thank you to everybody who takes the time to listen. And I'll just pass this straight on. Wana ia tono kaliaka. Aku kukoyan hieno kukoya haruish no kua aha. Isiono kukoya la hiaka. Isho kukoya.
Mm,
Waitina.
mm.
Thank you.
Such assurance and confirmation and care. Such assurance. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
You
and
too.
everything you're doing. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll catch you next time here on Anandaros. Bye.